he has special kind of accuracy. Like, you know, you have some quarterbacks who give you that feeling he's a winner, but do they back it up with the arm talent?
A lot of the talk this morning is, should the Dolphins draft Tua? Will they? Some of these experts are saying no, they won't go for him. Some people are saying he'll go to the Chargers. I want Tua.
The injury history is real. I mean, is he you know, too injury prone to succeed long term in the NFL? To me, that's a risk you have to take. If there is a special quarterback in the draft, and you have been forever a franchise really looking for one who has not had real success in a very long time, how do you pass up on that guy? Fortune favors the bold. They have multiple first-round picks. I understand are in the market for a tackle, but if Detroit really isn't going to take a quarterback and Tua just falls to you at 5th pick in the draft, guys, it reminds me in this way of Porzingis with the Knicks. Like, you kind of wanted to be drafting 4th that year because you knew who 1, 2, 3 was going to be, so maybe the best out of all of them just falls into your lap. That's, to me, what drafting 5th in this draft is. The Miami Dolphins got to take him.
What I would say is that I respectfully disagree when you bring into the equation the operative word, which is need. Do they need to draft Tua with the number 5 overall pick, assuming he lands at that spot? I would tell you no at this particular juncture, and I would bring in Mel Kiper Jr. Even though he still has Tua at number 5. Remember, he moved him off and dropped him to number 6 a few weeks ago. Why? Because speaking to NFL aficionados, the impression was that there wasn't that big of a distance between Tua and Justin Herbert. If you listen to David Pollack, there is a difference. There's obviously Joe Burrow, there's Tua, and then obviously there's everybody else with Herbert and Jordan Love being distant. He actually put Love ahead of Herbert. But if you're listening to Mel Kiper Jr., aficionados who were saying there's not that big of a difference between Herbert and Tua, now you have to take into the equation the injury history, the ankles, now the hip. That hip is a very serious injury. You know, the ankle and all of that happen in football. Even that ankle injury happens in football, but the hip and the way he was damaged off of that hit against Mississippi State, I don't think that's something you can ignore. Plus, they had some stat up earlier in this particular juncture. If you're going on a roster that's relatively loaded, with an abundance of weapons to throw the football to, etc., that's an entirely different ballgame. But Miami is clearly in rebuilding mode. We knew that based on what we saw last year, 2-3 games in. We said that this might be the worst football team we've ever seen, which is why we've raved about Brian Flores and the job that he did last year. But if you look at them right now, you're throwing Tua into a situation where you're essentially begging him to do more than you'd want a rookie to do coming off the kind of, I think it's a dangerous situation. I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. I would, but I'd be scared. And I don't, the operative word that is need, I'm not going to emphasize that they need to take him under those conditions. I think that's a bit too strong, but I'd still take him. I can't deny that.
Yes. They need to take Tua. 5 reasons I'm going to give you guys. First of all, remember about 13 years ago, this is the same organization that passed on Drew Brees because of injury. They've been trying to find Drew Brees since they made that decision. The second one, last year they traded Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a really good player, and Laramie Tunsil, who's a really good player, for draft picks. They did not trade really good players to acquire draft picks just for the chance to draft really good players. They acquired those picks for ammo to go get and make sure that they can go get the player pass on Tua, right? And they go, you know what, we're going to play with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzy will play well. He's going to have his really good moments. And they win 7 or 8 games. And then you go into year 3 in 2021 of a rebuild for Brian Flores and Chris Greer, the general manager and head coach. They're going into year 3 of a rebuild, and they're going to have the 8th or 9th pick, and they still don't have a quarterback. The fourth thing, Nick Saban, one of the greatest coaches of all time, Stephen A., you just mentioned him. He said at halftime of the national championship 3 years ago, hey, Tua, I need you to go told everybody, hey, if you pass on Tua, you're going to regret doing so. And Lamar Jackson. To go be great, to go win championships, you got to go take a risk. The Dolphins have to ask themselves, are they willing to pass on a chance of greatness? And they shouldn't. They need to draft Tua.
I'm not going to sit up there and knock those points down because I can't. What I'm going to say to you is that football, being a violent sport that it is, if you've got a guy that's relatively injury prone, and that's what you're walking into the league with, and you're asking to throw him into the lion's den when he's bereft of the necessary weapons in order to be successful, that's a dangerous precedent to set. You're talking about a guy in Tua whose confidence you've got to monitor his confidence to such a degree. You're sort of like restricting him. Can't feel like he can make every play. If you're playing with, I don't want to say inferior talent because it's not like the Miami doesn't have any players, but if you feel the need to press, to make plays, that could damage you.
But here's the two things. The Dolphins are actually a good fit because they're in rebuild. They don't have to force Tua on the field. That's the whole point for the Dolphins, is that they have a general manager and head coach on long-term contracts that are tied.
Get him.
They don't have to
Get him.
on the field. If they start 0-2 or 0-3, they don't have to panic and put him on the field.
Thank you.
The second thing is this. That's all Tua needs, is to realize he's not Russell Wilson in trying to make stuff. And realizing, get the ball out of my hands, be surgical, be a ball distributing point guard, and he will excel at that. That's the whole point, is the Dolphins don't have to rush him on the field.
Amen.
That's exactly right. Look, the reason you trade Tunsil and Fitzpatrick is because you want to reset the clock and get a quarterback on his rookie deal. Not have guys who are really good, who are coming up for big contracts, and then you have problems. Reset the clock, stockpile draft picks, have the right coach in place, get a quarterback on his rookie deal, win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, right? So that's why you move those pieces in the first place. The Drew Brees point is perfect also. You're passed on Drew Brees because of injury concern. And then you have a chance to draft a left-handed Drew Brees, which is what people are calling Tua. And you want to pass on that too? And then finally, look at the Dolphins. They won 5 games last year. The reason they won 5 is because in a must-win game for New England, the Dolphins beat them. And then they had a big offseason in terms of free agents. Now is the time. Fortune favors the bold. Tua's going to fall into your lap. You don't pass that up.
All right, Tua's had 5 separate injuries in college, including surgeries on both ankles and the hip. Miami has 3 first-round picks tonight. Looking forward to seeing what they do. Dan, thank you so much for being
I'm
with
looking
us.
forward to it. I can't wait. What a great day. It is the 23rd of April.
I just feel like Tua, I've heard maybe not Herbert yesterday, so you go by what you hear, Molly, and that's what I heard. I just think Tua, to have him fall to 5 with the injury, that's why he's there. Do you pass on him after what happened with Drew Brees? Now you get the left-handed version of Drew Brees with Tua. I just felt like I just can't see them doing it. Now, there are some in the league that think they will pass on a quarterback. Wait till 18 and kind of figure it out then. But if you drop Tua and Herbert past 5 and 6, where do you go with them in a projection? You have to drop them to the end of the first round, and that doesn't make sense. So you're not going to project a trade, and you're not going to put Tua at 5 and Herbert at 6. What do you do with those 2 quarterbacks?